So to many, it may not be much of a surprise that I'm a bit of an elitist about lenses in some ways and definitely not in others. One of those ways for a long time was a primes versus zooms person. I ditched zoom lenses a long time ago, and this is the first zoom lens that I have bought in probably a decade, and it has completely changed how I think about the whole lens category. And this tiny little lens is the Sigma 28-70 f2.8. Now, this video is not sponsored. I bought this lens with my own money. I've never even talked to Sigma, but if you are interested, obviously you can jump in and order this through the affiliate links, which gives me a small kickback that doesn't charge you anything. But as well, if you're interested in how I processed any of the images or even this video file, I have both presets and LUTs available. So if you'd like to support the channel in that way, that would be fantastic. I also have a Patreon if you're interested in learning more kind of in-depth and less gear-focused stuff as well. Now, I'll show it on the Sony a7 IV in a second, but I just wanted to take it and just show you how incredibly small this little thing is. I think it weighs 470 grams. It just like is smaller than a lot of even prime lenses out there these days. And sure, there are some compromises, as there are with anything. You either get a really huge lens that is super fast aperture and has a wide zoom range, or you can get a smaller lens like this that has a bit of a smaller zoom range and a little bit less of a fast aperture. But for my work, 28 millimeters has been fantastic, and 70 is a little bit further than I normally need to go in kind of basic wedding coverage. So this kind of ends up being a really good little tool for me. Here is the full zoom setup. You have a 28 millimeter to 70 millimeter at a constant f2.8 aperture in a very small, almost like kit lens sized setup. I think that when the whole mirrorless camera revolution started, this was like the thing that was promised to us, right? Like we thought, oh, we're gonna get rid of these bulky DSLRs and then we're gonna get smaller lenses and it's gonna be great. But what happened in many aspects is that the bodies got smaller and the lenses got bigger, and so the balance got worse. This is the perfect example of what I think many of us were hoping for in a smaller body size and a smaller overall package. I get that it doesn't go down to 24 millimeters and it's not optically perfect in every way, but as someone who really values the compactness of things, this really fit the bill for me in so many ways. It has 67 millimeter filter threads. It, is just this big. So that's all you're getting. If I'm holding it next to my face, so we're getting the right amount, we're just getting this. Really small. And I'll stop talking about the weight, but that really is the, size and weight are the biggest aspects of why this lens is so amazing. That and the fact that it comes in, I think it's on sale right now for $800, $799. I think it normally retails for $899. So you're not only getting a modern autofocus zoom lens that's small at a constant f2.8, but it's also well under $1,000. It's definitely not on Sigma's art series. It's on their contemporary line. It's not like their best lenses in the world. You are gonna see some distortion. You're not gonna see the best bokeh I've ever seen, especially at the wider focal lengths. But it's definitely more than enough and does a fantastic job for most, especially wedding applications. Lightroom does have profiles for the lens, so it helps correct for all those distortions, everything. And obviously it communicates what exact focal length is down to the 10th of a millimeter or whatever. So you're getting some help there as well, for sure. Now, I originally actually purchased this when I finally kind of jumped over to Sony. And after I got it, I kind of went, oh, man, that would be really, really helpful. So I started taking it to a few weddings just to try it out. And I found that there were a ton of times during a wedding day where this just was super, super useful in ways that I had definitely kind of given up on over the years. Now let's check out some of the images, and then we will talk about them as well as the image quality, and then also talk about some of the things that I don't necessarily like as much about this lens.
Calling me, we'll meet again like I don't know you. Oh, you pretend it's never been the same since you can make this right. What is it that I wanted for you to remind? Maybe the tide of the night will finally meet us so far. I wish it was no fire.
For me is during group and family portraits. This thing is just fantastic for that. I'm always stopping down on my lenses anyway to at least f2, usually 2.8 for a lot of those, so I can just make sure I get groups in focus. And so being able to zoom out to 28 millimeters where I still feel okay about sticking people on the wide end of, so you're able to, do a lot of stuff at around 35 and then move to 70, which gives you a decent kind of portrait focal length. And at f2.8, you're still separating your subjects from the background well enough that, pretty decent job there. I've also found it helpful at times to use it during the very beginning kind of processional of a wedding where I don't need to separate the subject from the background as much. It's definitely helpful and I do it often, but there are definitely times where being able to just, pull into 70 and then pull all the way back to 28 or something and get those multiple perspectives without switching cameras, it's been a really great thing for me. So as you can see, the image quality itself isn't going to just blow you out of the water. There's nothing from an image standpoint that it does that you're like, oh my gosh, no other lens does this. But it's just that all around, it does everything and does everything at a high enough level that it is definitely something that I feel more than comfortable shooting at a professional level with. And as far as sharpness goes, I think it's more than enough and has definitely performed super well. The other thing that I've been forgetting to say as well is that the minimum focus distance is at 0.19 meters at the wide end at 28 and 0.38 meters at the tighter end. So definitely can kind of double as a pseudo macro lens if need be. Now, because this is a contemporary lens as well, you're not getting, you know, extra buttons or anything on here. You're also not getting like a full weather sealing. It does have a gasket, and I would be very, very confident in taking this out in almost every situation for sure. It's definitely not an internally zooming lens, which I'm fine with because it saves space in a bag. I'm also coming from the Canon world, and this is the only zoom lens I have. It moves from kind of left to right in its zooming from wide to tight, which I believe is the opposite of a Sony lens, because getting those things mixed up would be really annoying to have one lens that zoomed one way and one lens that zoomed the other way. So kind of picking a manufacturer, I guess, would be a sweet idea. I have not tried the 16 to 28, which would be a great pairing, but I really, really, really hope Sigma, you guys come out with some sort of 70 to 200 millimeter equivalent, because if I could get a 70 to 200 2.8 equivalent in a very, really small package, I would be very, very happy. So if someone from Sigma ever watches this, send me one to test out. Oops. Because I would love to check that out, and it's something that, now that I'm kind of getting into zooms again, I guess I really want. So overall, what are my, I guess, final thoughts? I think this lens is really for the person that values size and portability over extra functions and image quality. The Sigma Art 24 to 70 is substantially bigger, but not that much more money, and gives you better image quality as well as a wider field of view at 24. You're basically giving up some of that other stuff to get the size down, which to me is absolutely worth the trade-off. I actually did try out the 24 to 70 from Sony at the condo trip and really liked that lens. Image quality was great, all of those kind of things. But I could still just tell the difference between carrying that lens around and carrying this lens around. I just think that the trade-off, as long as you're okay with 28 at the wide end and not a 24, this lens is definitely the way to go, and one of my most surprising and favorite purchases in the last few years. So thanks so much for watching. If you were interested, again, you can jump in and purchase this lens through one of the links down below. Check out my presets and LUTs, as well as my Patreon, as all of these people around here are all members of. So thank you everyone that is on there. Subscribe if you aren't already. That doesn't cost you anything at all. And I will see you all on the next one.